It is Locked On Jazz for the 5th of October. So, who cares? So what? It's all about mindset. But we'll talk about preseason game number 1. We'll break down how we saw the young players play. Butler, Azubuike, Hughes, Whiteside, and Pashcall, the new kids on the block, and what we saw from them, and the tiers of the NBA, plus one player that I thought stood out in a really positive direction. It's all coming up on today's edition of Locked On Jazz. Bum 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 bum. Pow.
You are Locked On Jazz, your daily podcast on the Utah Jazz. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hi, I'm David Locke, radio voice of the Utah Jazz, Jazz NBA insider. This is Locked On Jazz, your daily podcast on the Utah Jazz, giving you insight, expertise, geeky numbers, and hopefully making it way better to be a Jazz fan each and every day. Thank you very much for making Locked On Jazz your first listen of the day. We are here for you every day and free and available on all platforms, including YouTube, where you can subscribe on Locked On Jazz. And if you're watching it on YouTube, apologize for the no camera. It might be more pleasant for you. I just don't have a webcam that works on my laptop and forgot to bring my webcam. And secondarily, you can subscribe with a little button on the right-hand below on the right-hand side. Thanks to those that have jumped on live. We do try to do this show live most days, so it's an opportunity to be a part of the community and interact and get your questions into the chat room. So the Jazz get smoked last night in preseason game number 1 against the San Antonio Spurs. I would tell you, so what? Give the Spurs credit. They played really, really well. The ball popped. They moved. What you have with the Spurs is a team that, for all the guys that are out there, 3 29th picks and some young kids, they've gotten rid of all of their star players or their big names or the players in which the world centers around. And you have to, when you go to training camp with DeMar DeRozan, you're figuring out how you're playing with DeMar DeRozan. You go to training camp with LaMarcus Aldridge, you're figuring out how you're playing with LaMarcus Aldridge. That's not the case for them anymore. Now they're all getting to figure out how they're going to play. They came with super energy. The ball moved beautifully. DeJounte Murray was defensively into Jarod Butler like a veteran to a rookie at one point in time. So it was a really impressive, energized performance by San Antonio, and they should get credit for it. And that is one of those teams that I wouldn't want to play in the first 25, 30 games of the season. Once they start the year 10-15 or 8-17, I think then they'll back off a little bit. But playing those kind of teams early in the year is not going to be a pleasant thing for anyone. They have great length. They'll switch. They'll be good defensively. Jakob Poeltl's pretty good. So they'll do a bunch of things in that sort. However, they, they won't be good. And they thrashed us last night, which is just fine. The mindset, right? They came with something to prove. We're working our way through the preseason to get to the regular season. And you could tell, and we were playing without Rudy, Bojan, Joe, and Rudy Gay. Not really a kind of a so what to the score, and the fact that Jazz got thrashed last night, I think, is completely irrelevant. It's more of a statement to the mindset of what took place. My number one takeaway from the night was the tiers of this league, and then I was talking with Irv Rowland, one of our assistant coaches, afterwards, and he actually added to it when I was talking about it. So the tiers of this league, like you have, or tiers of basketball. So you have high level, high school, whatever. Then you play college. And like the next step above college is probably summer league. And then above summer league is G League. And above G League is the European Pro League. And then there's NBA. And then even inside the NBA, right, there's preseason, there's regular season, there's high level regular season, and there's playoff. And what I thought was really interesting was what an incredible difference you could see from just the level of college to summer league to like NBA preseason, which is not the highest level NBA preseason. I mean, we watched Trent Forrest and Udoka Azubuike just absolutely dominate the summer league this summer with that high pick and roll and what they were doing. And it was awesome. And yet they couldn't get that done in this game. Like that wasn't something that was going to happen for them. That wasn't a possibility. We watched on their end too. I mean, guys that are Lonnie Walker, who's just, at this point is just a dominant player in any of those other settings, just couldn't have an impact on the game in any way, despite being 6'4" and this like incredible athlete. I said he came out of Basketball Factory Door A, like he's 6'4", 205, long arm. He just couldn't, like, you've got to be so good. The games, the NBA is just at an incredible level right now. The fact that the NBA, you kind of think about it, that over the last 30 years, the three coolest guys in the world other than Tiger are Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, and LeBron James. And so the best athletes in the world are all playing. Plus you have international expansion. Plus we haven't had team expansion. And so therefore it's not, the game's at its absolute peak of level of talent it's ever been. And I think what you're seeing from that is that the Jazz, that these guys, it's really hard. Sorry, I have to get one thing done here. Is what you're seeing is that for Jarod Butler and Trent Forrest and Azubuike and all the guys that our fans are most excited about, it's a really, really hard game. Then when you add in, hey, that Rudy Gobert, Joe Ingles, Bojan Bogdanovic, and Rudy Gay aren't playing, we weren't very good. So we weren't very good last night. Spacing was off. Ball movement was off. We didn't run particularly well. We defended, it's hard to tell. Nobody made shots for a long time in that game, so I'm not sure. I thought we defended okay for a while. As time went on, I thought we defended less well. None of them are like, oh, takeaways change your opinion of the team and what any of this means. But I thought those tiers were really evident, and so I would zero in on Jarod Butler in that regard. The really positive thing I thought we saw out of Jarod Butler last night was just his demeanor. Thurl's the one who actually pointed this out to me. Thurl's going to be so great on the broadcast this year. Just having him every night, ability to build a storyline, night in and night out. He's so bright. He sees the game so wonderfully. He's such a wonderful person to be around. But I thought if we looked at Jarod Butler last night, it's pretty interesting. So in the first quarter, and the stats don't tell the whole story. So the positive I would say on Jarod Butler last night was his demeanor. Like he came in the first substitution with Jordan Clarkson. I thought he looked like he was comfortable. He didn't look scared of the moment. He looked as though he belonged. He ran through the sets. His body language was good, in that. And yet if you actually kind of watch his night, and we'll break this down in a second, like where he was on the tiers are what completely impacted his night. And that's what I think my takeaway was last night. I do have one player on our group who I thought was particularly good and is really interesting to look at, and that's Elijah Hughes. And so let's break down Jarod Butler by quarter and who was on the floor in a second. And let's look at Elijah Hughes' outing, and then we'll talk about some of the other guys, Pashcall, Whiteside, and you want to see, and then we'll take some of your questions. I see Tyson has an interesting question, and Eugene's got a question. So thanks to everybody in the chat room. We'll jump on those questions as well. So thank you to all. So that's what we've got. Keep coming. But the first takeaway to last night was no big deal. We weren't sharp. Who cares? Number two, the level of tiers of the NBA, like this league is loaded, and it was obvious, and it's hard. And then we'll get into our individual performances on how they played. Today's show is brought to you by Murdoch Hyundai. The Murdochs are doing an amazing thing. They are not charging more than MSRP on any of their vehicles right now. There's a shortage. There's demand. I have multiple friends who spent $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 over MSRP to get a car. They're not doing that. They are limited in their stock on the Hyundais, the great Hyundai cars. And so here's what they have. Last word I had, this was about a week ago. The Elantras and SL, Convenience Silver, and SEL, Convenience Silver and Blue, both came in late September. They're available, and there's a limited Elantra Blue that's in stock right now. Those were the North American cars of the year. The Sonata, which is a little bit nicer sedan, I'm driving right now, fabulous. There's 14 in production. They're all coming kind of inside the next 30 days. So if you want to stop down, look at one, take a look at it, get your name on the list before they're gone. Kona, there's a one that comes in 4 days. That's a Thunder Gray SE 2022 Kona. That's the small little SUV, and there's about 14 more coming in between now and October 26th. So some good inventory there for you. The 2022 Santa Fe, it's beautiful. There's a black one in right now, and a gray one came in last week, SEL Premium, and there's another gray one that comes in at the end of the month. So check these all out. In the 22 Palisade, by the way, later this month, these have been incredible demand, hard to get. There's 5 of them coming in by the end of October. So you might want to run down to Murdoch Hyundai now and take a look and see what you can get your name on and get taken care of it. Murdoch Hyundai, located at 4646 South State Street in Linden and in Logan. Incredibly, the Murdoch family, with their commitment to Utah, not charging above MSRP right now, just will fundamentally not do it, doesn't believe in it, Blake, holding to those standards in kind of an incredible level. Today's show is brought to you by DirecTV Stream. You can get your Jazz games on DirecTV Stream. It brings you live TV on-demand favorites together like never before. You can watch your favorite sports, movies, and shows all in one place. That means no more juggling remotes, no need to buy another device ever again. And the best part, there's no annual contract. So get rid of the clutter and the confusion and get your TV together with DirecTV Stream. You can learn more at directtv.com. That's directtv.com for DirecTV Stream. We all want to tell you the simple way to do it. We all want our entertainment. We all want without hassle, and the great way now, getting it all together at DirecTV Stream. Go to directtv.com. Get that done. And from my understanding, I'm not an expert in this, you can get your Jazz games there. Thanks very much for making Locked On Jazz your first listen of the day. We are free and available on all platforms. Mad Max 11 says, first look on the new players. All right, let's get into the first look on the new players. Let me start with Jarod Butler. I thought last night again, demeanor terrific. Looked like he belonged, terrific. It's great. First quarter, he's up against for the Spurs. In that first quarter, they played close to their regular rotation. So they started Murray, White, McDermott, Johnson, Pirtle, Walker, Eubanks, Forbes, and Vassell came. Thaddeus Young would probably play. Otherwise, that's close to their rate. So Jarod played 6.5 minutes. He played with Jordan, was on the floor most of it. He went 0 for 2, did have 2 free throws. He had an assist, and he had 2 fouls. So he got caught in the cookie jar a few times. Opening moments, jittery. He does not play in the second quarter. And he comes back and he plays the third quarter. And in that third quarter, the Spurs did similarly, but they added Josh Primo, their 18-year-old rookie, who came in at the 5:40 mark. And Butler in that quarter goes 3 for 8. If you dig in a little deeper into that third quarter, he actually starts the night. And again, this can just be jitters. And again, Thurl was the one who pointed out his demeanor was so good. So you don't really worry. But he opens up the quarter and he hits about the 10-minute mark. He hits a 9-foot jumper. Elijah Hughes assisted. Then he misses a layup on a drive. He gets a shot blocked, I think, on that one by Pirtle. And then he misses an 11-footer where he's kind of being hassled, doesn't he? Misses another 16-footer. And then he misses a 3-footer, a 3-pointer. And at the 6:20 mark, a college kid comes in. So now Primo comes into the game, and now you're back to an 18-year-old college kid, and Butler is now being guarded by Primo, and so we're now down to the tier of college basketball again. And Butler immediately beats him for a 6-foot layup. Then Butler draws a foul the next possession. Then Butler buries a 3. Like he just lit up. Maceo Teague then came in for him, after that. But the minute he got that matchup, he went to work. And you could see him gain that confidence. And hopefully it's the kind of confidence that he gains over time when playing against, frontline guys. But last night was his first time ever playing NBA guys, and it was obvious. That's not like you're not supposed to come in, like, unless you're the first pick of the draft, you're not coming in to like own that performance. And then in the fourth quarter, when the Spurs played Landell, Primo, Beta Jop, Wieskamp, Šamanić, the Butler's 3 of 5 with 6 points, and he's terrific. So, like, on the he had a night of these tiers I'm talking about, where, like, in his NBA tier, it wasn't great. Okay, no surprise. It's his first game ever. And then as the tiers dropped in the night in a preseason game, he got better and better, and you saw what he can do. So I thought that was my take on Butler. The exciting one to me to watch in this camp, and I thought it was really interesting the Jazz started him, is Elijah Hughes. So I did not love what I saw out of Elijah Hughes last year. Like, I didn't leave last year with Elijah Hughes and think to myself, like, oh, that is a future NBA rotation player. 39th pick of the draft in 2020. And if you actually kind of walk back Elijah Hughes' career here, last year was brutal. So he goes to East Carolina, and then he transfers and sits out a year, and he goes to Syracuse, and he has 2 years at Syracuse. Syracuse is a zone defense. For whatever reason, they played just an insane amount of isolation with Elijah Hughes in the 1920 year. His senior, he ran more isolations than any other draft prospect in the entire league. So when he came into the NBA last year, in his very first year of the NBA, he had to adjust his game both offensively and defensively. In other words, he had to guard someone for the very first time in his entire life. And then or not in his entire life, but since he'd been at Syracuse. And then the next part about it was the fact that he had to actually play with teammates. And what I didn't probably love about him last year on the NBA game was just a total lack of understanding of how he was going to fit into an NBA team and play NBA basketball. And what I mean by that is he's going to be the 4th or 5th best player on the team, and he's going to have to move the ball and do all of those kind of things. And I just didn't really see it. But let's take a step back and give Elijah Hughes a break. Elijah Hughes comes out, he's probably going to be, NBA time is as valuable for his development as anyone out there because of that circumstance. Unique offense playing isolation and defense just playing zone. So he comes out in COVID. There's no tour visits to teams. There's no workouts those players learn a ton. There's no summer league. There's no training camp, really. There's no G League, really. He played 5 G League games last year. There's a G League bubble, which he participates in. He's not great in it. He shot 34% and 21% from 3, took 8 threes a game, and he didn't make his shots. 5 of them. It's a mentally trying year. It's a bizarre year. You're not connected in the same way. He then gets some blowout. He gets 18 games of blowout minutes for like 60 NBA minutes. Like, he's a case where last year's class, which was surprisingly good in the NBA, just gets wasted. Like, to me, Elijah Hughes is a rookie right now. He's now finally probably gotten the summer league, gotten a training camp, worked with coaches, had enough time. Like, to me, I get to watch I'm watching Elijah Hughes with brand new eyes right now, as though he's a rookie. And I'm going to watch this player. The player I saw last night, I liked. I thought he was pretty good. I thought Elijah Hughes had a nice night last night. He started, so he got to play with better players. The number I actually like the most of any is in the opening 5:21. He didn't take a shot. Donovan took 9 in that quarter. Mike Conley took 6, and Clarkson took 5. And he actually went out when he didn't play with Clarkson. He had 2 rebounds. He had a foul. I thought he just played. Like, he didn't force it. He moved it. He swung it. I'm sure Quinn would tell me his spacing wasn't perfect and this and that. But then in the second quarter, he took 2 shots and he hit a 3. And then the third, he hit another 3. And in the fourth, he had another 3. Like, he went in the fourth, he had 3 assists and he had a steal. He went 1 for 5 shooting. I could kind of care less. But there were little pieces. Like, I know everyone's talking about Jarod Butler and everyone wants to talk about Jarod Butler and he's the latest pick, but they actually are drafted in kind of the exact same spot. They're both pretty interesting. They have interesting size to them. Hughes a little bigger, doesn't play with the ball in his hands as much. But I actually was taken last night as like, you know what? I'm intrigued by what I would call a rookie in Elijah Hughes. And I thought he played really, really well. And that was an interesting one for me. And I thought the fact they started him instead of Mia Oni was interesting. And I thought he earned it. I thought he played really well. And I've heard he's had a good camp. I've heard a lot of optimism about what he's doing. So that, to me, was the positive takeaway of the day, was the way Elijah Hughes first confronted the game, and then the fact he knocked down 3 threes matters, right? Because we just talked about it. In the G League last year, he didn't make a shot. Well, he made a shot, but he shot 21% from 3, which is not a sustainable way for – there aren't 6'5" guys in the NBA shooting 21% from 3. You have to be better than that. All right, we'll get to some of your questions. We'll touch on Whiteside, Paschall, Azubuike as well. I thought, and another thought on how these things are playing out. So all that as we continue here on Locked On Jazz. Today's show is brought to you by our friends over at betonline.ag. If you want to get into all the weekend action, there's great lines. NBA futures are up as well at betonline.ag. I don't think there's been a lot of movement on them yet. The Rams-Seahawks game on Thursday, by the way. I just thought I'd mention that. The championship odds right now, Brooklyn is plus 240 and the Lakers are plus 350, and then a huge drop to the Bucks at 900, the Warriors at plus 1,200, the Jazz at the 5th best odds at plus 1,400, the Suns at plus 16, then the Nuggets at plus 18. To win the West, the Lakers are the favorite in the West. The Nets are the favorite in the East. Brooklyn is 1, Milwaukee 2, Philadelphia 3, Miami 4, with Boston 5. Over in the West, the Lakers are 1, the Warriors are 2, the Jazz are 3, the Suns are 4, and the Clippers are 5. It's really interesting to me. I'm not sure I understand. I talked to Nate Duncan about this the other day on his podcast. I don't quite understand all the Warrior love. Use the promo code Locked On and get a 50% welcome bonus. Head to the website right now, sign up, and receive 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Use the promo code Locked On. From football, basketball, boxing, all your favorites are available to you at betonline.ag. Today's show also brought to you by Shopify. That's right. Shopify. It sounds like another sale on Shopify, the all-in-one commerce platform to start, run, and grow your business. Shopify gives entrepreneurs the resources once reserved for big business. So upstarts, startups, established businesses alike can sell everything, synchronize online, in-person sales, and effortlessly stay informed. Scaling your business is a journey of endless possibility. Believe me, we started Locked On as this one entity, and obviously now we are rolling. Spotify has the tools and resources that make it easy for any business to succeed from down the street to around the globe. Shopify powers 1.7 million businesses from first scale to full scale. Go to shopify.com/LockedOnNBA, all lowercase. That's shopify.com/LockedOnNBA for a free 14-day trial to get full access to Shopify's entire suite of features. Grow your business with Shopify today. Go to shopify.com/LockedOnNBA right now. That's shopify.com/LockedOnNBA. Let's get some of your questions and your thoughts on the live show. Sorry, there's no video today. I don't know if you actually care, but it is not available. By the way, I also thought Rudy Gobert's offensive impact, which is not talked about a lot, was very, very obviously missing on the roles. Whiteside did not have a particularly great game in his first game with the team. And he's got to, this is where over training camp, you figure out who you're playing with. You get comfortable. You figure out each guy works. But I thought that, obviously he got the ball ripped out of his hands a few times. He did not have an offensive impact rolling the way you want to. He did not have a great game. But first game, different guys, not playing normal rotation, normal guys. He just rebounds. He had 10 rebounds in 14 minutes. He went 2 of 5 at the free throw line. He's a career 58% free throw shooter. He had some impactful plays. You could see it. But he was not incredibly impactful on the offensive side. The spacing and the rolling didn't seem as, this is where Rudy's just really great. It's hard. Eric Paschall played 20 minutes, came off the bench in that group, kind of in that role. You might have expected him to play. We'll see. Without Bojan Bogdanovic and Rudy Gobert, he should get more time. He made some nice plays. He came in a pick and roll through the lane and threw it back out, the non-natural pass to a different guy for an open three. I don't think they hit it. He did have an assist. It might have been that. He's a big body, grabbed 5 rebounds, had 7 points, 2 of 7 shooting. This 3-point shooting is a concern. He shot 30% from 3 in his career. He's got this big jump. When you watch him play, you'll see he jumps, like truly jumps, like a very large amount off the floor, but it just means there's a lot of body parts moving, and to stay in balance and have things happen. Like, it's kind of the exact opposite of what we saw with George Niang. Niang eliminated all movement, barely jumped, and was able to figure out how to make that shot. Paschall is the exact opposite. He's this huge jump, and trying to find that rhythm, and particularly as you fatigue in a game, is harder for him. His jumper did not fall last night. He went 1 of 5. Frankly, no one's did. Donovan went 0 for 6, and Mike Conley went 1 for 5. But there was a play in the pick and roll. He showed the ability to play with his ball handling and throw it out. I mean, the question to me, I've brought this up all offseason, is how he's going to do in regards to playing with good players. To me, that's what jumps out most, is he's going to play with good players. And this one play I'm talking about, he came off the pick and roll, he got in the lane, he threw it back out to an open 3-point shooter. He was able to collapse the defense. That's a nice luxury if he can do that. Defensively, I thought he was fine. There were some times where he got blown by, and you're going to have to contain the ball better. He's big. He's a big man. I don't think he's going to be particularly fleet of foot. So that if he's in space, I think he's going to have trouble. If he can use his strength, I think he's going to have success, would be my guess, just kind of watching his body and all aspects of that. Any other player that I think you're going to be particularly interested in from you? Oh, Doak had 5 fouls in 24 minutes. He did not have a defensive impact. Murray, who's a big-time NBA player, averaged 16 points a game. I mean, Doak was another tier thing, right? Doak had a beautiful summer league, dominant college, beautiful summer league, got into NBA in the NBA minutes. Last night struggled as the game went on, and we were playing collegiate players again. He got a bunch of dunks, and he got up above people and showed what he can do. But he would fall under the tiers category last night in how the game played out, I think, in how he meant to play. Eugene wants to know, how was your first game back on the road? We did go on being with the team's just been great. First of all, just remind you the camaraderie and the family, and these are just amazing people. The support staff works, the staff you don't know, the Eric Phillips of the world, the Eric Waters of the world, the Isaiah Wrights, the Barnett Franks, these guys you've never heard of, and the work they're putting in, Derek Gardino and Madeline Crandall. It's amazing. And the amount of respect I have for them is through the roof, and it's wonderful to see them work. It's great to feel connected. Again, I think you'll feel a very big difference in the coverage you get this year because of that. And to get to watch them and feel it. I forgot that we arrive at hotels at 1:30 in the morning. We got in last night, 1:30, and went to bed. It's just, you forget, oh, wow, it's brutal. Which is fine, but just these little things. So it's super. And so it was great. I even had coffee with my good friend Igor Kakashkov this morning. So, all things are, I think it's really interesting. It's just wonderful to be back out. What will the max amount of minutes you could see Butler getting this season, and will he get them at both point guard and shooting guard? From Tyson Malmstrom. I think the beauty of Butler is that he can play off the ball. He's such a good shooter, and so he will play them. I think you'll see him play kind of combo guard. The ideal version, what's the max amount? I think the max would be, we have a 9-man rotation that would be pretty hard for him to break. So do you just give him 4 or 5, 6, 7 minutes on a night to just lessen Joe Ingles and Mike Conley's burden? That if you give him 8 minutes, you're somehow able to save 4 extra minutes for Conley and 4 extra minutes from Joe by having him on the floor for for 8 minutes a night and give him just exposure. And then on the nights in which Joe or Mike rests, he's going to have to play 20, 25. And how does he do in those roles? So to me, so I thought, I think that's the maximum position of minutes that I think you would get from him. Tyson Newman, who's been a long time kind of Jazz blogger. What are the chances Rudy Gobert can replicate the incredible season he had from last year? Is there any chance he can do it defensively to improve his game? I don't know if you can be much better than what was close to the greatest defensive season in the history of the NBA. I do think you're going to see him have a larger offensive impact. He showed that in the Olympics. I've seen, I think that's part of the high pass concept in a different realm by the Jazz to see if they can do that. I don't know if you can improve a great deal on what he did defensively. I mean, just experience always improves these guys. We're going to see Luka tomorrow. Luka's going to get better from experience. Rudy's going to get better defensively. We've watched Giannis has gotten better. You wondered how he possibly could have done that after being an MVP. These guys all get better. That's why they're the greatest in the world at what they do and how they improve. So I do think Rudy will get better. And I think that from that standpoint, it'll be subtle. I'm not sure you and I, Tyson, will know enough to be able to see it. So that's my thought. Tyson with another comment, would love to see Hughes get more minutes this season, good size, and he can shoot. I don't want to see him get more minutes because it means that somebody in our regular rotation's hurt. I know we love our young players, but let's be honest. We got 9 really, really good players that are ready to go. And then Paschall's 10 and Butler's 11 and Hughes or Oni is 12 and 13. And, these guys are really, this is the difficulty. Trying to be a young player on a good team is really, really hard because the one thing that jumps out is that you don't have very many minutes available. You're a low draft pick because you're on a good team. That's how the team got you. And then there aren't very many minutes available. So it's super hard for these guys to get a rhythm and get going. And it's why I think of Udoka as a rookie. I think of Hughes as a rookie. I think of Butler as a rookie, all in the same status right now in my mind after last season. I wasn't here at the beginning of the stream, so I'm sorry if you already mentioned it. But what is your overall impression of the team after the first preseason game? I'll sum that up, Riker. I didn't, kind of so what is my reaction. Spurs came out, played beautifully. The Jazz weren't very good. The second aspect of things that I looked at was the tiers of the game. There were NBA minutes or kind of NBA preseason minutes. And then if you think of a game, there's college, there's summer league, there's G League, there's the European Pro League, and then there's the NBA. And inside the NBA, there's preseason, regular season, and playoff. And last night, I thought we had NBA preseason for a while and guys struggled. And then when we got to NBA back to college, some of the guys look good again, exactly as you'd expect. And the final question comes in, will Hassan be better with Joe and Donovan for pick and roll over Favors? We'll have to tell. Time will tell. I mean, Hassan last night was, he was fine. His first game back, he had 10 rebounds. He didn't play with a great deal of fire or pizzazz or wow you or do anything of that nature. So we'll have to see. Joe and Donovan are going to have to figure each other out. I have a feeling that those minutes could be some really high pick and roll, simplified offense, just get things done in those minutes. All right, that is Locked On Jazz today. Thanks very much. Appreciate you tuning in. Thanks for making Locked On Jazz your first listen of the day. Now, go tune into Josh Lloyd and Locked On Fantasy Basketball and get ready for the fantasy season for your second